I will do the strategy inbuilt into getting your writing done.
Everybody goes this way, you might want to go the other way.
If you close it that easy, you're too cheap.
One will become $1 million, one will become 10 million, one will die within like 6 months or so. Hey everybody, welcome back to my podcast, and today we have awesome Chris with us. Chris is an amazing founder, and he has been running a digital marketing agency for a long time. Chris, for a few people who doesn't know you, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Christopher Melotti, and I'm a brand strategist and marketing consultant. I've had my agency, Melotti Content Media, running full time for 8 years, but I've had it for like much more than that. My background is CMO and marketing strategy. And so I work with businesses from startups all the way to well-established companies and large organizations to help them articulate their brand to make them more relevant to their customers.
Yeah. From the beginning, I want to say this upfront so that everybody knows like who should watch this podcast. Number one, if you are an agency owner, you should definitely listen to this podcast because we will be talking about how to grow an agency. And would love to hear, Chris's experience with what are the things maybe he has done right, what are the things maybe he has done, not so right.
Yep.
Maybe that might help another founder. Chris might have a tip that might save another founder like 3 years, right? So we're going to talk about agency, growing agency. At the same time, we will try to touch upon marketing strategy, content marketing bit, so that it also helps other founders who always listen to us. So let's get started. Chris, can you give us a little bit of background of how the agency started about like 8 years ago or so, and then where it is now? Like, how did you grow? Where did you start? Or if I put it this way, like when you started, what are the service offerings that you had? And what are the service offerings that you have now?
Yeah, great question. So basically, I was working as a CMO, and I'd worked in like healthcare and property and all these different things. And I graduated from uni a couple of years ago in law and marketing. And I started this business, which was called Melotti Media at the time. I started that business as a side hustle, maybe 12, 13 years ago. And I was basically just doing copywriting. And the reason why was because I loved to write, and I loved to help people put together arguments and strategies and things like that. That's what I love to do. But my real passion was for consulting. However, at that time, I was in my mid-20s. And so while I was a great ideas guy and I have all this passion and enthusiasm and it comes so naturally to me, I was young. And so the concern I had was that people would look at me and go, but this is a 20-something-year-old person. What do they know about marketing? And so what I did was I loved writing. So the way I did it was I said, I will do the strategy inbuilt into getting your writing done. Okay, so people would pay and go, oh, well, I can see the value in paying, I get something back. So that's where I started, where I was just doing copywriting. And what happened was, back then, that was such a unique offering because what was happening was, at that time, copywriters were like stay-at-home mums and dads, and they were just like people that wanted to just do a bit of writing on the side as a side hustle, right? Whereas me, when people hired me, they were getting a full marketing strategy as part of it. So people would come and they'd go, oh, can you write my brochure? And I'd go, let me talk you through what you need to do. And so they'd get all this advice and assistance. And then they'd get the writing that was right on the money because I spent the time doing that. Whereas other writers would just go, tell me what you need and I'll just make it sound pretty, right? And so that exploded because what happened was people were going, well, go to Chris because in the alternatives, I'd rather have Chris that I can get knowledge and information from so that my writing isn't just writing, it's actually impactful marketing. So it grew and exploded from there because what happened was I had a few clients while I was working full time. And then people told people and people told other people. And I was earning my same income at my CMO job as I was earning in my business. And so I was working all day and all night. And eventually my boss was like, you need to go, right? And not in a bad way. He was like, you need to take a chance, right? Go, it's working for you. Like you need to be released so you can do that. And the HR manager was the same. She's still a friend today. And she was like, Chris, people start businesses and they've got nothing. She's like, yours is already profitable. So anyway, speeding it up now, along the journey is then I grew from there. So the question that you asked was, I started just doing basic freelance copywriting. Then I started to hire people, and then I had an assistant, then I built and built and built. And now what we do today is still similar, but it's built a lot now. What we do now is we do a lot of strategy. So I've actually now gone back to the consulting, right? So the consulting stuff, then we do foundational work with marketing, and then we do the copywriting. And execution now and content. So I've got a big team now, and we do all of the spectrum. And so I've got basically now more people are asking me to do consulting and less about the copywriting, but they still get me to do that at the end.
Yeah, yeah. And I know the answer, but I'm going to still ask because I think it will
Sure.
really help a lot of other people. Chris, what kind of services do you offer? Do you offer one-time service or monthly recurring?
Yeah, so no monthly retainer. And the reason why is because, and I know it's against every rule, every market, every coach says it, right? But I don't do it that way. I don't like retainers. For me, I earn my clients' business back every time. And I find that it works better with my model. So my model, I just look, this is my personal preference, right? A lot of other people will disagree, but I find that retainers, I found that clients that work with retainers, they feel trapped, they feel uncomfortable, and you have to constantly have this uncomfortable conversation of, what are we doing this month? And you feel obligated, and you have to, oh my gosh, you have to meet with them again, and oh, what are we going to talk about? And then it's like, and then what happens is eventually the conversation ends with, I don't want to be on a retainer anymore, I'm leaving, right? Which is always an awkward conversation. Or what we do is the other situation is clients overstep the boundary. What I found is where they'll go, well, I'm on a retainer, I need something now on a Saturday, right? And so I found that for me personally, I don't like them. I like the project based, because what happens is I speak to clients, I keep in touch with them, so it's naturally good customer service. I always say to them, there's no obligation, right? But what we do is, it's not for everyone, because you have to be so proactive, right? And clients love that, but it's hard to replicate. Whereas I've got a great team who check in with clients, do a good job, make sure that the service is there, and therefore clients keep coming back on their own accord. And then what I do is I charge every time. So even if they go, Chris, I need this emergency thing, I go, absolutely, here's the quote. Right. And it's never an awkward conversation, because they go, oh, of course, like, I'm not on a retainer. This is work. Chris has to do it. And so it's always a positive conversation, because it shifts from obligation to value.
No, I love it because it is one of those things that you might say like, hey, there is a saying where if everybody goes this way, you might want to go the other way. So, and it worked for you. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I
But
also
it's
have a
not,
business
for
coach, and
everyone.
yes, it's not for everybody. So
Mhm.
I have a business coach, and here's the saying that when you look at a company, there are many, many reasons why that company will become successful, or why that company will fail. So you might have, exactly the same looking company, like 5 different companies, but one will become
Yeah.
$1 million, one will become
Yep.
10
Yep.
million, one will die within like 6 months or so, because the
Hmm.
variables, because in a business, there are like so many variables. You have, there are times when you don't have control over certain things, and there are times when you have control over certain things, and you should just go with what's working for you. And for
Oh, and you
you,
know what?
right?
Sorry, I don't want to
No,
stop
go
you
ahead,
there,
go
but
ahead. Yeah,
your coach is bang on, right? Is that, so, like, this is the thing that I need to tell people more often is, in your business, a lot of people go, oh, there's people 10xing. Right? Oh, everyone should be able to do that. But it's not always the case. Now, there are things that you can control, and that's a good thing, right? So what you do is you jump on those things, and you plan and do all the good things, right? Plan ahead, set your goals, do your objectives, do your customer research. But there are also these things where, what we always hear, right? And as well, we always hear on the internet and on socials, oh, everyone's, there's a millionaire at 22 and all this sort of thing, and people are making all this money. And the thing is you don't have the truth about that situation. And so we spend so much time looking at what everyone else is doing, and we forget that everyone's situation is different. Like, I've seen so many times when I'm in networking events, and someone will say, oh, I'm doing so well. And I will say, honestly, I'll say, it's been a difficult month for us. And as soon as you say that, they will go, oh my gosh, me too. Right? And it's so bizarre, isn't it? That it's like, the advice I'm saying to everyone listening and watching is don't take things at face value, because you look up to and you get inspired by people, and if they're not being fully transparent, you have this image of in your mind of what it should be, and you'll kill yourself trying to get there. Whereas everyone's path is their own, and you can have to take control of what you can do.
Right, right. And in a marketing agency, whenever we think about keeping a client, it's about delivering highest quality work, right?
Yes.
Possible, right?
Yeah.
Now, in that regard, can I ask you this? Like, how do you make sure that that happens with most of your clients? Like,
Yeah.
what's your secret, or what's your system with that?
Yep, I have a 3-pillar system. The first is strategy, where everything I do starts from a strategy. And I'm not talking like a full-blown 3-day strategy. I'm just talking about usually a half an hour chat or an hour consultation session. And what that does is it grounds the client and yourself with expectations and a clear direction. The biggest problem that marketing agencies do today, which has lost a lot of trust in for us all, right? Because if you speak to a lot of clients today, they go, the first thing I hear about 90% of the time is, "Oh, I've been burnt." Right? And that's a problem, because we're doing the agencies out there are doing it to each other, right? We are knee jerking, which means what we're doing is a client comes in and goes, "I need a website," and you go, "Absolutely, website," right? You get in, you halfway through the project, and then you realize you haven't done the building blocks, or you haven't understood the full program, and therefore it fails. So now, if you go to my website, you'll see the first thing it says is strategy is always first. Strategy is the first pillar, right? I set expectations. I talk the client through it. I talk about goals, right? Then everything I create around that is bespoke to that goal. So if they want to achieve a particular goal, everything around that I put it, it's not a cookie cutter thing. I don't go, "Oh, great, we just do ads." No, I go, "All right, for this particular thing, you want to be at a conference, you want to do this," and I make a bespoke plan against that. So then the answer to your question as well is that way, then the client can see all that you're doing, and they can measure the value and your success because they can see it. That's how I do it.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. Can I ask you this? So overall, what's your take on pricing a product? You don't have to give out how much do you price and how you price and stuff like that. But what should you say to somebody who is just starting, right? And also, if it's a company has been around for the last 3 years or so, what should be the strategy in terms of pricing?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
I
to give you more context, like if we think about, sorry to cut you off, to give you more context, the entire podcast is about thriving in Australia, right? So the context that I'm trying to give is like, how do you price something so that you thrive in your business?
It's a hard one as well. That's a really hard question. I mean, the first and foremost, I can't be trusted with pricing, and the reason why is I have a managing director who works in my team, Angela, and she is the one that does the pricing. And the reason why is because I don't have a knack for it. And it's just, the reason is because I don't look at it from a she looks at it from an operational accounting perspective and looks at how much we should be earning, but also a value perspective. See, for me, right, this is the problem I have that I know everyone listening and watching will relate to, is because it becomes so easy for us to do what we do because we've been doing it. Like I've been doing this for now 25 years, right? So to put strategy together and things like that, it is so not easy, but it's so my thing now, right? That it comes so naturally to me. So when it comes to pricing, I'm terrible because I'll go, "Oh, like that's something I could whip up in seconds," right? And she, thank gosh, right? She's the breaks and she goes, "Chris, but that is a very expensive, valuable service that people out there are paying $40,000 for. And you want to charge them less than 1,000. Like that's not good, right?" And so what I'm saying is I find it hard to answer that question because I'm terrible at it. When I started, the way I did it, and I'm just if you're a startup, right? So it was I just honestly, it was as basic as putting an hourly rate on myself, right? And what I did was, and I'm not. We don't do that now, right? But what I'm saying is, what we did is at the start is we just did an hour. An hourly rate, then I would go approximately that will take 3 hours, and I charge them that. This was when I was a freelancer. as we started to grow, what I did was we started to obviously expand the prices because our experience went up and people started to see us and we got recognized and we started to get some big clients in and all of that, and we raised our prices again. I've heard some people say keep raising them until people tell you to stop. And what I mean by that is I've heard other agencies, and that's actually, I know it sounds greedy, but it's not. It's people's expectations of value, right? If you might say, I don't know, I'm throwing this out there. You might say it's $4,000, and the client might say easy, right? If you close it that easy, you're too cheap, right?
Yeah, I'll
Whereas,
I'll add something to that. Right, right. So this is what I have done when I was consulting. I'm still doing consulting, but when I was like full-time consulting. So I started with the clients. I'll give you like just making it up. Like for example, I started with like $10,000, right? So I kept that figure for about a year, right? Next year I started charging for example, again just making it up, like
yeah,
15,000,
yeah,
and
yeah,
when I asked for it, they were like, okay. I'm like, oh my God, do you want to give me 15,000 for this? All right. Next year, 5 more. Next year, when I increased in another 5, and I saw 3 of like really good leads said no, that's when I knew, okay, so that is the ceiling. And
yeah,
I'm like, I'll be honest, I have talked about it many, many times, and everybody who has done it, they came back to me, after a year or so, and they thanked me because they were
yeah,
like, I can't believe I could charge more, right? So we don't have to decide. You and we don't have to decide what should be the price. Let the market decide. Keep increasing the price. Keep increasing the price. And I always say, when you are in selling mood, you will always know if the lead is a really good lead, right?
yeah,
If three of
yes,
those leads say no to the price, nothing else, right? Nothing
yeah,
else, just the price. That means you have crossed the line.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
that's
I had a
that's
coach.
my strategy. Yeah,
Yeah, I had a coach that said that said, if you're converting between 90 and 100%, that it seems successful, but it means you're too cheap. You're too cheap,
exactly.
right?
Right,
If
right,
you're converting under 40%, you're too expensive or you're doing something wrong with your sales. You should be converting around 60 to 70%. This is just a generalization, but that means that your price is good. But also the thing is, it's not just price, right? Is in order to ask for those prices, you need to earn it. And what I mean by that is your website needs to look the part, right? Your materials, your professionalism, your sales pitch, all of that stuff. Because the thing is that you might say, like, someone listening or watching, right, might be thinking, oh, well, I'll just up my prices. But you can't up them if you don't look the part, right? If you're a mess, right, and you don't have the materials, and if they say, oh, send me some case studies and you have none,
right,
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 you're not going to
right,
get the price. Whereas,
right.
so control what you can control, and
Yeah,
that's what my advice would be.
right, right. Look, we all know every single year how many marketing agencies close down. Can you tell me what are yeah, there are a lot of marketing. So I'll give you a little quick background. So in the entire world, every single day, a lot of marketing agencies are getting born. It's because many reasons. But one of the most important reasons is maybe somebody was a good freelancer, right? And now they want to scale. They're like, oh my God, I can't sell my hours anymore. Now I want to scale. Now I want to build a business. But there's a huge difference between being good at what you do and running a company, right? So I'm just giving you one tiny example. So there are many reasons why a company can be very successful and many reasons why companies can fail. Can you tell me in Australia, what are the clients looking for? So I have an agency, right? What are my clients looking for? What can I offer? Or what do I need to know about my client so that my business can thrive or my agency can thrive? Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what it is? It's if you are thinking that answer to that question is your services, you are wrong, right? You are absolutely wrong. What people want is emotional, trust, reliability, peace of mind, make me look good, right? Then your services and your solutions and your products are the vehicle to do that, right? And the reason why I know that is because I have been on the other side, right? I have been the client. I was a CMO, right? Before I started my agency, working with agencies, right? And when I was approaching agencies, as a CMO, I had my plan, I had my objectives, I had my KPIs, I had my budget, right? If some agency went, oh, we can do websites, right? That would not get you the job. what would get you the job is, I can do websites, but you can trust me to do the whole process. I will walk you through it. I will make you look good. Your boss is going to praise you because of the website that we do, that you will present, right? And so what it is people need to stop selling on products and start selling on what people are actually looking for primarily, which is comfort, trust, security, reliability, the deliverability, all of that. And this is the problem that marketing agencies do, is there's a lot of, oh, put you on a retainer, let me quick, right? And you see the sales team come in, speak a big game, win the project, then you never see those salespeople again. And then you get a whole bunch of people from that same agency that are not good or are confused, right? And as a CMO, right, or as the person that you are oh my gosh, what have I actually signed up for? So to be successful in Australia, you have to be able to do more than sell a product or a service. You need to sell an idea, a story, a reliability factor, a guarantee, right?
Mm.
Reduce the
Tell me
risk.
more, right? Tell me more about building the trust factor, building the reliability factor. How can an agency build the trust if they're just starting from scratch?
It's there's two things. The first thing is you've got to provide evidence, right? So evidence is testimonials, case studies, portfolios, all of that, and that must be weaved in amongst everything, right? That they're called social cues or social proof, right? So that would be it. The next thing is, honestly, you need to earn it. You need to earn it. There's no silver bullet. Like I wish I could say do this and but you've got to earn it, which means you need to spend the time getting to know a client. You need to spend the time networking. You need to spend the time doing podcasts. You need to spend the time doing all these things. Well, like I did, right? I was everywhere, and people go, "Oh my gosh, you're everywhere. You're on LinkedIn. You're on every," right? Because I know that when people see, it builds trust authentically. Right?
Right.
So don't go on
Right.
there and pretend to be something you're not. It's find your niche, be authentic, and earn trust.
Wow. I think this is absolutely one of those reasons people miss out on. They offer the service and the pricing right, everything else is right, and they're like, "Oh my God, I have been a good freelancer. I know exactly what I'm selling. I'm so good at what I'm doing, but why am I not converting any clients? Or why am I not even getting any leads?" Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the test is this, right? What Take your business hat off for a second and put your customer hat on, right? Now, instead of you looking like instead of you being a marketing agency, pretend you're the customer now, not just looking for when you are a customer, what makes you buy from a particular shop? What makes you trust a particular lawyer or an accountant? Or what makes you choose a school for your kids? Or like think about what, like, everyone who's listening and watching, what have you bought recently and why? Right? And a lot of the times you will find that you made the choice because you trusted there was a familiarity, right? So for example, right now I was looking at buying dash cams for my car, right? And I went onto Google, right? And I looked up the first five and I was like, don't know, unsure, unsure. One I trusted, and I went on there, and I wasn't quite comfortable. I put an inquiry, and I didn't hear from him for like 3 days, right? So boom, right? Gone, right? It doesn't matter how good he was gone. Someone in my network said, "Oh, I know someone," right? I sent him a message. He called me immediately, talked me through everything. He made the sale in 10 minutes, right? I bought it straight away this morning. Do you see that trust, right? And I'm not saying it has to always be word of mouth, but it is like presence, give off the signal and make you feel like that make people feel comfortable. You make the sale.
Mm. Wow. Now, because you have been running the agency for about 8 years, can you share few of your mistakes, if you may, that you made, and you were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I kept doing those things," right? That might actually help other founders. Like, I'll tell you this: if I say it this way, whatever I learned within the first 7 years, in terms of marketing, right? I think my foundation wasn't good enough. If my foundation was good, whatever I could accomplish within 7 years, I could just accomplish that within, I would say, 4 years or so, right? So I'm not saying oh, if I did not make this and this mistake, I would have saved 9 years of my life. I'm not saying that, but maybe I would have saved 3 years of my life, right? There you go. So what are those things that you might want to share with the entire world that might help the other founders to thrive in Australia in terms of running an agency?
Look, I would say make sure everyone listening and watching, do the groundwork. And I don't mean setting up a 50-page document or anything like that, right? What it is people, I don't know why, people hate putting the groundwork together. What I mean by that is, who are you, right? The business. Like what I say is put together your corporate identity, right? So what it is what do you stand for? What are your values? What do you do? What's your vision, your mission, your purpose, your brand personality? Those things sound cliche, right? But the problem is people overlook these and they skip them. And what ends up happening is then you are no one for no one, right? And what I mean by that is if you do not establish your distinction with yourself and your team first, how do you expect your customers to be able to do that? Right. And this is what I do with a lot of my clients is I build and do corporate identities and brand messaging documents for my clients because of that reason. That's one of my major services that I do because what happens is you get a business that's like it can be an electrician, it can be anything, right? But what happens is they just go, well, I'm an electrician, who cares? Right. But what they don't realize that they're sitting on a whole bunch of differentiators that they haven't taken the time to define. And so as a result, they go out in the market and they go, I'm an electrician. And 5 other people go, so am I. Right. And what does that cause? Price war. Right. If you cannot differentiate yourself in a logical and reasonable way, then what happens is no one will choose you other than with price. And you do not want to be there. If you're racing to the bottom, your business will not last long. So what I always say is make sure that you at the first thing is don't make the mistake of overlooking that identity piece. Get a page out, go to a park, right? And write down why you are what you are, what you stand for, what's your brand, and be authentic. You can be the grumpy person, right? You don't have to be like me. You can be, I'm the grumpy marketer that does things, doesn't mince words. But you need to claim that, own that, right? Don't be grumpy and then say, but I'm happy as well, right? Confusing, no one's going to choose you. The biggest challenge that people that I've overlooked, that many overlook, build your brand's corporate identity so you know it, so your team know it, so you can project it out there. Other things that I would say, I've over serviced a lot in the past, which is really hard for me. And you know what the problem is, as well, is I was rewarded because when I over serviced, people were like, wow, excellent customer service. So then when I built a team and I started to build processes and things, over servicing was a hard one because it was a gray area because people were like, well, Christopher's customer service is excellent, right? But then it was costing me profitability. So I had to spend a lot of time working that out. So what I would say is making sure that you put your boundaries up and you give good customer service, but don't over service is a lesson I've learned. So yeah, corporate identity, being careful with your service, get niche. Niche is another one, right? And this is up to you, right? But I'm not saying you have to be like, oh, I'm an automotive marketing agency, whatever. You don't have to be like that. Your niche can be whatever you define it as. But if you say I'm everyone to everything, you're no one to no one, right? Find what you're good at and start there and build outwards because it's hard to swallow the elephant, right? You need to start small and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add one of the mistakes that I have done. So, I'm a marketing consultant, still a marketing consultant, but at the same time, I run a 4 to 3 full-time people marketing agency, right? And what the mistakes that I have done in recent years was I wasn't balancing my investment on 3 different things like people, process, and technology, right? Either I was investing in technology or investing in people. Maybe I lagged process. So when I lagged process, somebody left, and a lot of things fell apart, right? So my learning with that was I knew about it, but you know how there are times when you know about something and there is a difference between you are acting on it. So the mistake that I did in the past where I wasn't investing properly, equally in people and process and technology, right?
That's
So
that's so smart. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Because otherwise, like, how can you scale? Like, unlike you, we have a monthly retainer service or a few different services, but all of them are in monthly retainer, and we always have to make sure that we get more clients. Obviously, every business in the world, they have churn rate, right? We have that as well,
Everyone.
but we
Everyone.
right, but we also have to make sure if an employee leaves or if a teammate leaves, then that does not harm us a lot, right? And that's
And
why
actually, that's really
invest.
good insight.
Yeah. So and that's why investing in people is that comes first. People is always first, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like we're very loyal to each other. Like everybody that we work with, we're like very loyal to each other. But at the same time, we had to have, we needed like really good process, all of them properly documented, all of them properly, keeping people accountable, that they will also follow the process, not just create the process, like follow the process. And last but not least, another insanely important thing, which is technology, right?
Yes.
If you think about a marketer will give you 10 times more output if you give them really high quality tools,
Of course.
right? That's how it works,
Actually,
especially in our world.
one caveat, they need to know how to use those tools and they need to feel secure using those tools, because I know I work with a lot of AI and all of that. And the minutes that people get nervous, you lose them, right? So I agree, tools are so important, but it's also, don't just go, here's Canva, here's an AI platform and go for it, right? You have to train them so they feel secure and make sure that they don't feel like they're going to be embarrassed or replaced or all those kind of things. And then they will work really hard with them.
Fantastic. Can you tell me now, what are the things that you guys are focusing on in 2025? Like, what are the things that you are excited about that will really help you guys grow as a company?
You know what? We're refurbing the whole business and rethinking the whole thing, which is good. Like, you know what? You know what it is? A couple of weeks ago, we had a bit of a think and we realized that it had been a while since we really looked at the business. We were getting really comfortable, right? And that's okay, but I think you need to be uncomfortable at certain points and you need to scrutinize your own operations. So what I would say is that right now what we're looking at is we're refurbing how we do things, we're rethinking how we operate, and making some improvements that we haven't done in a while. We're looking at our expenses, right? And this is something that every business should do. Look at your expenses, have a look at where the expense creep is happening, because what would happen is, like, there was a few like platforms that increased their prices recently, and we actually went, we're not going to accept that. We did some research and found some replacement software that could easily, do the same thing for a quarter of the price. So that's on the back end. We're doing a lot of that assessment and rejigging, which is really healthy for a business, even if it is uncomfortable. On the front end, we're starting to win some really big clients like, Hilton and things like that. And so what we're doing is right now is we're making sure that we have the expertise and the operations ready for that, but also doing a lot more key opinion leadership, right? Getting out there, speaking, presenting, doing conferences, volunteering for things, just so that then we can increase our profile.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing
yeah.
this year.
Love it, love it. Just two more quick questions, and then
Sure.
we'll close this podcast. Now let's talk about content marketing. You're right.
Yep.
Can you tell me one or two things that really will help flourish any kind of business in the world flourish in 2025? And let that, by the way, I'm saying content marketing because that's something that we have in common. But you can touch upon anything else that can also you think that can also help these founders,
Yeah.
get a
Two
better
things.
idea about how they should move forward with marketing.
Yeah. Two things: omni-channel and personal brand. So what I would say is, omni-channel is the practice of being everywhere your customer is. Now, that means digital, analog, in person, right? And so I'll break that down for people because people are thinking, oh my God, that's so overwhelming. I'm not saying you have to be in every channel, but what I do is I look at where my customers are going to be. And then I go, what can we do on LinkedIn? Because I know they're on LinkedIn. What can we do on the other social platforms where they're going to be, right? We look at what are they reading? what articles can we create? What pamphlets can we do? What FAQs can we build? What landing pages do we need to have on our website? What I do everything. What conferences can I speak at? So my suggestion is, I always say to people is, look at where your clients are going to be and make sure that you are touching all of those touch points, because if you're not there, your competitors are, right? So omnichannel is the first thing. So what I'm saying is, do like this. Podcasts, great audio, great. Do videos, right? Write your articles or get someone to write them for you. Put together an investor kit, a capability document. All of those ingredients you will thank yourself for, because when you get an inquiry, you can send them a capability document that you're proud of. You can do all these things. So omnichannel is make sure that you're covering all your bases. The second thing is weaponize your personal brand. Personal brands are becoming extremely popular, and it's not because it's an influencer culture. It is not that. It is because people are buying from people. In the rise of AI, right, everyone is seeing a lot of homogeny, right? There's a lot of same fakeness, things like that. You can't fake a personal brand. And what I mean by that is when people actually talk to you, right? So where people are, if you think about it from the customer side, people are wary, they're nervous, right? And they go, am I speaking to Nazwa? Like, is he real? Like, what is he doing? So what it is things like this help accentuate your authenticity in your personal brand. So make sure that you, not just the business brand, but your own personal brand. Again, it's not being an influencer, right? If you're running a marketing agency, it shouldn't just be the marketing agency. It should also say, oh, and by the way, we've got, Julie, who's the head of our marketing department. So that it's not just about stealing the limelight. It's, if you leverage off both, you will have the biggest impact. They're my two pieces of advice content.
That is fantastic, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but I think people often miss out this overall, how powerful a personal brand can be.
Huge. Like here, I've got my personal brand, right?
Yeah,
Is my consultancy. So if you go to christophermelotti.com.au, that's that one. And then I've got my agency, which is Melotti Content Media. And what I'm saying is I've taken it to the next level where I've built them both out, right? And for people listening and watching, going, you don't have to do that. But it really does help. They feed each other.
100%. I mean, there are different times. What we have seen in the past might not work right now, and what is working right now might not work in 50 years or so. Right now, at this very moment, personal brand, a founder-led personal brand has been helping like nothing else, right?
Oh, crazy.
You brand the founder, everybody knows the founder, the trust factor is built, they want to talk with the founder, and somebody else executes.
Yeah, correct.
That model has worked like magic, even for me, right? All the clients that I get, most of them is because of this kind of video or some social media posts, or they've seen something else somewhere, right? But that has to do with me. I'll tell you this: a lot of my clients, they probably don't even know the my agency name, but they want to work with me, right?
Yep.
Just because the kind of brand that I have built, right? And it's not that I'm not saying like, hey, build a brand and say whatever you want to. No, if you're just starting out, you can literally say, I'm just starting out, and that's okay. We don't have to, we don't have to portray anything fake, but building a personal brand is definitely one of those. I still think very much like people don't understand how valuable this can be. I'll end the podcast with this. Whoever is listening, look, if you're listening or if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you have a business today, maybe that will fail tomorrow, and then maybe you will start another business, or maybe you'll just go back to a job, and then maybe you will build another business. No matter what, people can take away a lot of things from you, but no matter what, they can't take away your personal brand. There's no way it's possible, right? They cannot take away your personal brand. So I would, just like you, I would highly encourage everybody to build a personal brand, because this will pay off. Maybe not tomorrow, but this will definitely pay off. Yeah.
And I agree. And it works the same. Remember that piece of advice I said where it's work out what your brand is? It works the same, right?
Yeah.
Is work out what your personal brand is at the same time. And what it is I've worked with a lot of clients to do their personal branding. Like I build their brand guidelines, right? And what I've said is some of them will go, I don't want to talk about my kids. That's fine. That's what I'm saying is your personal brand on the business side is yours to command, right? As long as it's authentic, right? You can set the boundaries. But what I mean is set the boundaries early, right? Like you're
Yeah.
building your business guidelines and all of that. Set your personal brand, which is you don't like. For me, I say I'm a marketing consultant. This is my story, exactly what I've said today to you, right? I don't talk about anything in my personal life because that's not what people want to know, right? It's what you're happy to share. Make it
Yeah.
clear to yourself and your audience.
Right, right. Chris, this has been a fantastic podcast. Anything else that you want to say to the world, and how can people actually find you?
Yep. You know what? The other thing I would suggest is make sure you are getting reviews and testimonials, right? Like wait for your client to be really, really happy and then send them a link, right? Don't coax them. Just send them a link and say, you know what? I'd really appreciate it if you could leave me a review. Those reviews will help. They're worth more than gold because they will be great for your personal profile and also your business profile. So make sure you're doing that. For me, you can find me at christophermelotti.com.au, right? That's my consultancy brand. And I have melottimedia.com.au, and that's my agency brand. But you can follow me on LinkedIn, Christopher Melotti, and I'm always happy to chat. I'm always happy to talk. I like discussions. I like podcasts like these, and I like sharing my knowledge. So the other thing I would say is I have a free book on my website that's the 20 insights for new entrepreneurs that I learned in my first 5 years. You can just go to my website and find it. And it basically it's a free resource that I offer that it's like, here's all these, here's the 20 things you can learn, from my first 5 years that you can apply in your business. It's not a self-help. It's just, here's what happened, and it's little things like Nesma, like it's like your friends don't understand what it's like and hire early and all those kind of things. So anyway, it's a resource there as well.
Oh, fantastic! I'll definitely link Chris's all these resources under this podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, do subscribe here and hit that like button. If you're listening to this podcast on any other platform, do follow us. Thank you so much, and see you on the next podcast.
Thank you so much.